It was earlier this week when lawmakers moved a substituted version of Bill 283 to the voting file. The measure aims to update the Port Master Plan, but appears to be much different from the version originally introduced and discussed during a public hearing last month. Port General Manager Joanne Brown.
And some of the language contained in it, which we find very concerning, almost tries to administrate how we operate the port.
However, it was yesterday when Republican lawmakers tried to move it out of the voting file and back into the second reading file. Senator Brant McCready made this motion in order to convene in the Committee of the Whole so the port can speak on the changes.
And I would like for them to be able to express their concerns to this body so we can make a better educated decision. And I do believe that we teeter on the fact that this bill, if it goes through this process and gets passed and sent to the governor, it may be a vetoed bill.
The bill's author and committee chair, Senator Tom Atta, opposed the motion, saying his colleagues already had an opportunity to raise an objection.
But nobody asked any questions. So why now are we going to go back to a committee of the whole? Why now bring it back? So my objection stands, Madam Speaker, that I don't see any reason why we should go back and go into a committee of the whole for that matter.
The motion eventually failed. According to Senator Atta, the changes to the bill include adding in 2 CIP projects for the F1 Wharf and Gulf Pier in place of funding to renovate the Agate Marina and Harbor of Refuge. The substitute version also includes a provision requiring the port for the next 2 years to provide a status report every 6 months to the legislature and the governor's office on the progress being made on capital improvement projects. After those 2 years, the port would then be required to file the report annually. The substitute version also mandates that how certain revenues can be spent.
I understand the need to ensure that our wharfs are prioritized. I mean, I don't need Senator Tom Atta to put in legislation to tell the Port of Guam that we need to do that. We're already doing that.
Brown says the changes to Bill 283 were never discussed during the public hearing and were never brought to her attention until she received it on Tuesday. She even made her way to the legislature yesterday to raise her concerns, but was denied as well.
This type of language that he has in place, for example, because the port has been granted responsibility over the marinas. With this type of language, for example, short of a mitigation of a natural disaster or a threat to public safety, we could not address funding to maintain or repair the marinas on Guam.
She says the port has pursued federal funds for the improvements to the marinas, most of which haven't been addressed in decades, but only in the past few years.
But we would not have the flexibility, nor would our board, to be able to determine that as a priority and authorize funding for it. Now, there's something wrong with that.
She says the port is an autonomous agency and this new language in the bill doesn't allow it to generally operate as one, but instead puts constraints on the management and the board.
Senator Tom Atta, who almost has no presence here at the Port Authority of Guam in the time I have been here, somehow he knows better how to operate the port than our board or the men and women that work here at the Port of Guam. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that.
She further accuses Atta of being less than cooperative in dealing with the port and addressing legislation that the agency actually needs.
I think he should prioritize and look primarily at what he can do to assist and facilitate as a legislator and oversight chair to help the port, than become an obstructionist or try to administratively control the port from the Guam legislature. There's a basic separation of powers issue here.
She adds it may be Atta's name on the bill, but it's the men and women at the port who are actually behind this effort, which was all for nothing as a result of the substituted version. Essentially, she says Bill 283 is inappropriate.
As I've said before, if Senator Atta wants to administrate the port, he certainly can be appointed to the board. He can be appointed by the board to serve as the general manager of the port, or he can run and be the governor of Guam. I understand they need a candidate on that side of the aisle. Short of that, it's inappropriate for him to even attempt to do this.
She says while having disagreements on issues is a normal part of the dialogue, she even believes Atta is, quote, intentionally trying to make her job more difficult.
I don't know if it's personal. I don't care whether he likes me or not. I don't particularly care for Senator Tom Atta and his actions. At the end of the day, I've got a job to do. I have things to the public, to my board, to the governor, and to the men and women of this port that I have to be accountable to, regardless of who I like or dislike.
Brown says the bill essentially tries to administrate the port through a legislation, and with her experience in the Guam legislature, 6 terms as a senator, she simply isn't buying it. Brown, meanwhile, says the bill is so reprehensible that she's writing to Governor Eddie Calvo with all her concerns and asking him that should the bill pass to not sign it into law. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintaniza.